Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over how to clean and lubricate your H&K P30 pistol. We're going to be taking it from the perspective of someone that's very inexperienced with firearms and trying to go over all the little details that you would need to know if you just picked one of these up as your first gun. If you did, awesome choice. And we're going to show you how to clean and lubricate it coming up next. Before tearing apart the gun, we'll go over what we're actually using. So first up, we have these tipped-in polymer picks. It's sort of the only specialty tool here, if you will. These are nice because they don't scratch up the finish of your firearms, unlike some metal ones out there. So you don't have to worry about that. And I think they come in like a 4-pack for under $10. So pretty affordable there. I definitely like them and use them all the time. We have a fancy pants toothbrush. Actually, it's just a generic toothbrush. Any of them will work. And we have this little rod here. One just like it comes with your HK. This one here is from a Glock, but if you guys use your HK1 that comes in the box, that works just fine as well. I just happen to have this one lying around. We have a couple pieces of cut up white t-shirt. If you guys want to use patches, either 9mm or 30 cal, by all means, have at it. Cut up t-shirt works just fine so long as you cut it to the right dimensions. So we also have break-free CLP. This stuff here is the same stuff that our military uses. It basically CLP stands for clean, lubricant, and protectant, or clean, lubricant, and preservative, depending on whom you ask. Either way, it does everything okay and nothing exceptionally well, but for general firearms usages, it's what I use for everything. So cleans, lubricates, and protects as the name would indicate. So the bottle here is just a repurposed body spray bottle from my wife. And then this bottle here, I think they're sold in like 3-packs or something on Amazon. But I just buy like, a quart or whatever of the CLP and then put them in these bottles because it makes it a little bit easier. Anyway, on to the cleaning. To disassemble the pistol is pretty simple. We're going to drop our magazine by hitting the magazine release here. Make sure that is set off to the side. Now we're going to push up here on our slide lock. You can do it on either side and pull the slide back to the rear. You're going to look in the chamber, make sure it is empty. This one is. And at this point, what we have to do is line this little dash right here, this little cutout in the slide, up with the point where your slide lock inserts. So I like to sort of come over the top of it and then line them up just like that. At this point, you're going to push through on the right side of your pistol until your slide lock comes out. Just like that. Maybe. There you go. And now your slide should come right off. The right side will come off as well. And just like that, our slide's off. Now at this point, we're just going to pull up on our recoil spring. Assembly, set that off, push up from underneath in your barrel, and then pull that out, and it's disassembled. Now what we're going to do is spray a couple of sprays here in this area. If you don't have any spray bottles, that's fine. Just put a little bit in there. We'll work it around in just a second. Spray there, and we're going to take our toothbrush and sort of work it in all the crevices. And one thing that's nice about the CLP type products as opposed to separate cleaners and salt and lubricants rather, is that just getting in there, breaking down the carbon is good. And then when you go to wipe it up, there's a little bit of lubrication left on the surfaces, which also protects it from rust. So we're going to just wipe it around. And then what we're going to do is point the slide down and brush up here on the breech face. And you also want to make sure you get up under the extractor, which is right here. Because there tends to be a lot of carbon in there. So you're just going to work up in there, and you want to make sure the pistol or the slide is oriented down so you don't get a bunch of oil in your firing pin channel. That said, on the HK, it's probably much less of an issue just due to the way the gun's designed than it would be on other guns. But what we'll do next is take a patch here, spray it with some CLP, and we're going to run that through the barrel. So the reason I like to run it through the barrel there is just to let the CLP start working again and start breaking down that carbon. One thing that's nice about HKs though is that they have polygonal or polygonal rifling in most of their guns. So that makes it extremely easy to clean. So we're also going to spray here on the outside and just kind of wipe that around with our fingers. Hit it with the brush again to, again, loosen the carbon and start breaking it down. Just paying special attention here to our feed ramp. You definitely want to make sure that it's clean. And we'll set that off to the side. And we're going to do the exact same thing there on the recoil assembly. And just get a thin coat of CLP on all the areas. With the frame, there's not a whole lot going on. We're just going to put a little CLP back here and just, again, wipe it all around. Areas we want to pay special attention to are on these rail surfaces here, and then same here on the back, and then the trigger, the hammer assembly rather, in the rear. So just kind of getting it all around in there, and just set that off. Now we're just going to start wiping up that CLP that we put on there, and you guys can see the carbon coming up from it. You can do it with your finger, you can do it with these tools. You just want to make sure that you get in there. Again, areas you want to pay special attention to is on these rails right here, because that is one of the main friction points of the firearm as it's firing. So anywhere you can get in here, just kind of work it in there. And again, we want to pay special attention there to the breech face. And what I'm going to do here, another nice thing about these picks, is that you can take them and work up under the extractor here, just like that. So definitely get it cleaned out, and you can see there's definitely some black crud in there. So just keep working it all the way around, getting up all the CLP that you can see. And some folks really want to go until your patches are completely white, and that's totally fine. If that's what you want to do, have at it. You can just, keep going. But for now, we're just going to leave that. On the barrel, we're going to do the same thing, wipe everything up that we can see. You want to pay special attention there to the crown of the barrel, just making sure you get all the carbon off the edge. Another area you definitely want to pay attention to is these locking lugs here. Get those nice and cleaned up. And again, hitting our feed ramp, making sure that we're good there. And we're going to run another patch through the barrel and see how this looks. Certainly much better than the first one we put in. You can run it through a few times or just keep using patches again until you get it as clean as you want. We're going to wipe everything off of the recoil assembly as well. One thing that's nice is you can slide that piece forward here, the little buffer, and get up underneath it. So, you really can't always get down to the actual guide rod itself, but you really don't need to either for typical cleaning. So we're going to do the same here on the slide. Now, one thing I want to point out is, of course, just like everything else, get the CLP off. But what I wanted to point out rather was here in the trigger mechanism, I definitely recommend getting in there a little bit, but don't force your way into any crevices, because sometimes there's little springs and or parts in there that you don't really want to move around too hard. If you can reach it, that's good. If you can't, then you're probably going to be just fine and don't have to worry about it. And for our magazine well, we definitely want to make sure we get all the oil out of there. We don't want any magazine, or oil I should say, in your magazine well. Lastly here, we're just going to wipe up our slide stop. Sometimes there is some gunk on there, but of course it does have that tough finish like the rest of the pistol, the metal parts anyway, which is very easy to sort of just wipe up, as you guys can see. With most pistols, the parts you lubricate are the parts that you start to see wear on, but on this one, the finish is so good you don't see a lot of wear, even though it's got tons of rounds through it, but we'll go through it anyway. So here you can see a little bit of wear, and we're just going to put a drop of CLP in there, and you can work it around there with your finger, so that way you have a light coat in there. Same here on the inside of the slide rails, just a little bit, a drop on each, and just kind of work it around. Now we're also going to put a drop of lubricant there. And now we're going to talk about the rails here on the slide. So there's two ways to lubricate those. So either you can do it on the slide itself, or you can do it on the frame by putting a drop on each of the portions here. Either way is fine. But if you actually look in H&K's manual, they actually point to the rails themselves to lubricate. So we're going to just put a thin drop down the whole way on the rails. If you guys don't have a needle bottle, you can just put it at a couple points and it will work itself in as you run the slide on the gun. For the barrel itself, what I like to do is just put a little thin strip there and work around my finger. Again, in the manual, it'll show you that basically you want the whole outside of the barrel to be lubricated. And we're also going to put a drop of lubrication here on the locking lugs where you can start to see some wear. We're going to slide that in there, and at this point we'll talk about the recoil guide rod and just put a drop there on each and move that back, and we will put that back together as well. We're going to put this piece in the little recoil hole down here, recoil spring hole. like so, and you want to make sure that the flat part here is facing up. We're just going to push forward and it should lock in just like that, and put a drop right there as well. Now, moving on to the frame, since we actually lubricated the frame points, or the slide points rather, you don't need to do it here. If you wanted to, though, of course you could. Some folks suggest a light drop of oil down there on the trigger spring. I'm certainly not against that, but other than that, we should basically be good here. And again, the CLP, the good thing about it is that there's a light coat already on all the parts. Now, at this point, we can reassemble it. So we are going to put our frame and slide back together by lining the rails up with these little rail portions there on the frame. And kind of just get it like that. Now at this point, we're going to put the right side on, and it is going to go, it should lock right in. Oops, there we go, just like that. And now to get the left side on, we have to pull it back to the same position we did earlier, right there. And before we do that, I should have actually put a drop of CLP on there and just worked around my finger. But now that we've done that, we're going to do the same thing as we did when we took it out. Just line it up and make sure it goes in, make sure it's coming out that side, let it go. Now at this point, you're just going to do a basic functions check. So we're starting double action, pull the trigger, hold to the rear, should fire, cycle the action, single action, the trigger should reset. It does, pull the trigger, should fire, and that's it. We are back together. That's all there is to it, folks. Pretty simple, straightforward process. If you guys have any questions about it at all, you can always post down below in the comment section. You can also post those questions over at my Facebook page, as always. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. If you're new here, definitely subscribe, because we have a lot of videos just like this that may pique your interest coming up, and we hope to see you in the next video.